Admiral Lee Min-ho stood in the command center of Earth's last military station, his hands gripping the metal railing as he watched the holographic display. Red dots filled the screen like a disease spreading across the galaxy. Another human colony was gone. Another million people dead. "Sir, we just lost contact with the Titan mining facility," Lieutenant Park Sumi reported from her station. Her voice was steady, but Min-ho could see her hands shaking as she typed. "That makes 17 colonies in the past month." Min-ho closed his eyes. 17 colonies. The Zephyrians were moving faster now, their strange ships cutting through. Space like sharks through water, their weapons turned human ships into floating metal and fire. Their soldiers moved like they shared one mind, attacking in perfect patterns that human forces could never match. "What about the defense grid around Earth?" Min-ho asked. "Down to 30% power, sir. The Luna base is asking for more ships, but we don't have any left to send." Min-ho looked around the command center. 3 years ago, this room had been full of officers planning attacks on enemy positions. Now it held maybe 20 people, most of them exhausted and running on coffee and fear. The walls showed damage from the last Zephyrian attack on the station. They'd barely survived that one. The door opened, and General Kim Tae-yeon walked in. Min-ho had known Kim for 15 years, had seen him stay calm during the worst battles of the war. But now Kim looked old, his face gray with worry and lack of sleep. "We need to talk," Kim said quietly, "somewhere private." They walked to Min-ho's office, a small room with a view of Earth hanging in the black of space. The planet looked peaceful from here, blue and white and beautiful. But Min-ho knew that down on the surface, billions of people were waiting to die. "How bad is it?" Min-ho asked, as the door closed. "Mars is gone. Complete destruction. The orbital stations, the colonies, everything." Kim sat down heavily in a chair. They used some kind of new weapon. It turned the entire planet's surface into glass. Min-ho felt sick. Mars had been home to 50 million people. Children, families, scientists working to make the planet better for human life. All gone in a few hours. The other colonies? Min-ho asked. "Most are evacuating, but the Zephyrian ships are faster than our transports. They're picking off the refugee ships one by one." Kim rubbed his face with both hands. "We have maybe 2 weeks before they reach Earth's outer defenses. After that, ... After that, we're all dead," Min-ho finished. They sat in silence for a long moment. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly in space, unaware that its children were losing a war in the stars above. "There is one option," Kim said finally. "Something we buried 3 years ago. Something the politicians said was too dangerous too." Min-ho looked at his old friend. "What are you talking about?" Kim pulled out a small datapad, its screen showing classified files that Min-ho had never seen before. "Project Apex. We took 13 of our best soldiers and ... changed them, made them into something more than human, enhanced soldiers. That's just stories, no stories. Real science. Real people who volunteered to give up their humanity to save it." Kim's voice was quiet. "Genetic changes to make them stronger and faster. Computer implants in their brains to help them think like machines. Cybernetic parts to replace their weak human bodies." Min-ho stared at the datapad. The files showed medical reports, psychological profiles, combat testing results. The numbers were incredible. Reaction times 10 times faster than normal humans. Strength that could crush steel. Brains that could process information like computers. Where are they now?" Min-ho asked. "Frozen in cryogenic pods on level 7. The ethics committee shut down the project before the war got bad. They said we were creating monsters. Were we?" Kim looked out at Earth. "I don't know, but they're still human where it matters. They volunteered to become something else, to protect everyone they loved. They knew they might never be able to go home again." Another alarm sounded in the command center outside. Min-ho could hear Lieutenant Park's voice reporting another lost colony. The Zephyrians were getting closer to Earth every day. "The team leader is Captain Yoon Guan," Kim continued. "Best tactical mind I've ever seen, even before the enhancements. Minho thought about 13 soldiers sleeping in the cold, waiting for someone to wake them up and ask them to save the world. He thought about the families on Earth who had no idea that their planet's last hope was a group of people who had given up their humanity to remain human. "Wake them up," Minho said. "God help us all, but wake them up." Gim nodded and stood up. "I'll start the revival process. It'll take a few hours to bring them back safely." As Kim left the office, Minho stayed at the window, watching Earth turn in space. Soon, 13 enhanced soldiers would wake up to find their world dying. They would have to decide if they could save it, and what they were willing to sacrifice. To try, the war was about to change, but Minho wasn't sure if it would change for the better. Captain Yunguan felt the cold leaving his body as the cryopod opened with a soft hiss. His eyes snapped open, and immediately he could feel the difference. The neural implants in his brain were coming online, feeding him information faster than any normal human could process. His enhanced muscles felt strong and ready. His cybernetic parts hummed with power. Around him, 12 other pods were opening. His team was waking up. "Captain, I'm sorry we had to wake you," said a voice beside him. Dr. Cho Haijin stood next to his pod, her face showing worry and sadness. She had been the lead scientist on Project Apex, the woman who had helped turn them into something more than human. "How long were we asleep?" Jiwon asked, sitting up in the pod. His enhanced senses were already telling him things about the station around them. The air recyclers were working too hard. The walls had stress fractures. The place smelled like fear and exhaustion. 3 years. The war. It's not going well. Kiwon looked around as his team members climbed out of their pods. Sergeant Oseojin was checking her cybernetic arm, flexing the metal fingers that could crush steel. Corporal Bei Min-soo was running diagnostics on his enhanced vision, his eyes glowing slightly as the implants activated. Private Han Yeji was already connecting her neural interface to the station's computer systems, downloading 3 years of war reports directly into her brain. "Sir," Yaji said, her voice flat as she processed the information, "we're losing badly. The Zephyrians have taken 90% of human space." Project Apex had taken 13 normal soldiers and turned them into living weapons. Their bones were reinforced with metal. Their muscles were genetically enhanced to be 10 times stronger than normal humans. Computer chips in their brains let them think faster and share information with each other instantly. The cost had been high. They could never go back to being normal humans. Their families had been told they were dead. The ethics committee had called them monsters and tried to shut down the project. "What's our mission?" asked Sergeant Kang Yoonji, flexing her enhanced hands. Her genetic modifications let her move faster than the eye could follow. Dr. Cho activated a holographic display showing the Zephyrian fleet positions. Their greatest strength is also their weakness. They use a hive mind system. All their soldiers think as one, move as one, fight as one. It makes them incredibly coordinated. But also predictable, Jiwon said, his enhanced brain already analyzing the enemy attack patterns. They can't adapt quickly because they all think the same way. Exactly. Human fighters are chaotic, unpredictable. We make mistakes, but we also make breakthrough moves that surprise the enemy. The Zephyrians don't do that. Private Song Jaeon was studying the technical data on his neural display. Their ships use quantum-linked communication systems. Every ship talks to every other ship instantly. That's how they coordinate so well. It's also their weak point, said Corporal Lim Daeho, the team's demolitions expert. His enhanced brain was already calculating explosive yields and structural weak points. If we can get into their communication network, we can disrupt their entire fleet. Dr. Cho nodded. There's a command ship orbiting Mars. It's the central hub for their communication network in this sector. If you can get inside and plant a virus in their systems, the whole network goes down, Jiwon finished. But getting to Mars means getting past their entire fleet. That's why we built you, Dr. Cho said quietly. Normal humans can't do this mission. But you're not normal humans anymore. Giwon looked at his team. 13 people who had volunteered to give up their humanity to save it. They had been the best soldiers Earth had, and now they were something else entirely. Faster, stronger, smarter than any human had a right to be. But they were still human where it mattered. In their hearts, they still cared about the people they were fighting to protect. They still remembered what it felt like to be normal, to have families and friends and quiet moments of peace. The enhancements are holding well, Doctor, Cho continued, checking her medical readings. Your genetic modifications are stable. The cybernetic implants are functioning perfectly. The neural links are stronger than ever. Any side effects? Asked Sergeant Osujin. Dr. Cho hesitated. Some minor cellular degradation. Nothing to worry about for now. The important thing is that you're ready for combat. Guan caught the hesitation in her voice, but there would be time to worry about that later. Right now, Earth was dying, and they were the only ones who could save it. When do we leave? He asked. The stealth ship is being prepared now. You'll launch in 6 hours. Juan nodded and turned to his team. You all know what we signed up for? We became monsters so that normal people could stay human. We gave up our lives so that others could keep theirs. Sir, said Private Han Yeji, we're ready, and let's go save the world. As they prepared for their mission, Juan felt a strange mix of emotions. Fear for the people they were trying to save, pride in his team's dedication, and sadness for what they had all lost when they became enhanced soldiers. They were humanity's finest, but they were no longer fully human. The irony wasn't lost on him. To save humanity, they had to give up their own. The stealth ship Silent Dawn drifted through the floating wreckage around Mars like a ghost. Captain? Yungiwan pressed his face to the small window and looked out at what used to be human ships. Twisted metal and broken dreams floated in the darkness. His enhanced eyes could see details that would make a normal person sick. Target acquired, whispered Private Song Jaeon from his position at the sensor station. Cybernetic implants. We're connected directly to the ship's systems, letting him see through the ship's eyes. Zephyrian command vessel, 2 kilometers ahead. It's huge. Giwan looked at the alien ship on the display screen. It was 10 times bigger than any human warship, covered in strange curves and glowing with purple energy. Smaller Zephyrian fighters moved around it in perfect formation, like birds flying together. Their patrol patterns are exactly what we expected, said Sergeant Oh Seojin, studying the movement data. Every ship moves at the same time, turns at the same angle, fires at the same targets. No variation at all. That's the hive mind, Giwan said. They all think the same thoughts, make the same decisions. This makes them strong, but also makes them predictable. The plan was simple, but deadly. Get inside the command ship, find their main computer, plant a virus, and get out before anyone noticed. Simple for enhanced soldiers with cybernetic implants and modified bodies. Impossible for normal humans. Approaching the hull, reported Corporal Beiminsu from the pilot's seat. His enhanced reflexes let him fly the ship through the debris field without making a sound. Ready for deployment? Giwan looked at his team. 12 enhanced soldiers, each one a living weapon. Their faces were calm, but he could see the data streams flowing between their neural implants. They were sharing tactical information, coordinating their movements, preparing for battle. Remember, Juan said, we go in quiet. No shooting unless we have to. Our job is to plant the virus and leave. The team moved to the airlock. Unlike normal soldiers, they didn't need bulky spacesuits. Their genetic modifications let them survive in space for short periods. Their cybernetic parts could function in the cold vacuum between ships. Hull breach in 3, 2, 1, Minsu announced. They launched themselves across the gap between ships, using their enhanced strength to propel their bodies through space. Giwan felt the familiar rush of using abilities that no normal human possessed. His targeting implants tracked the movement of enemy patrol ships while his enhanced muscles guided him toward the alien hull. The Zephyrian ship's hull was made of some kind of biometal that felt warm to the touch. Sergeant Kong Yunji used her enhanced strength to tear through the outer plating like it was paper. The hole she made was just big enough for them to slip through. Inside, the ship was strange and beautiful. The walls glowed with soft light, and the air smelled like flowers and electricity. Everything was curved and organic, like the inside of a living creature. First patrol, dead ahead, whispered Private Han Yeji, her enhanced hearing picking up the sound of alien footsteps. 3 Zephyrians, moving in standard formation. Giwan signaled for the team to spread out. The Zephyrians appeared around the corner, tall and graceful with silver skin and forearms. They moved together like dancers, their steps perfectly synchronized. They never saw the enhanced soldiers coming. Sergeant Oh Seo-jin moved faster than the eye could follow, her cybernetic arms striking with enough force to crush metal. Corporal Lim Dae-ho used his enhanced speed to disable 2 aliens before they could raise an alarm. The entire fight lasted 3 seconds. Poor things, Yeji said quietly as they stepped over the bodies. They don't even think as individuals. They're like parts of a big machine. The team moved deeper into the ship, following the blueprint that Yeji had downloaded into her neural implants. The Zephyrians had built their ship using the same patterns as their society. Everything connected. Everything sharing information, no individual parts. Computer core dead ahead, Jaeon reported. But there are more guards. A lot more. All through the walls, they could hear the sound of many footsteps, all moving in perfect rhythm. The ship's security system had finally detected the intruders, but it was responding in the same predictable way that all Zephyrian systems worked. They're sending everyone to the same location, Guan observed. No individual thinking, no tactical flexibility. They're going to bunch up and make themselves easy targets. The battle in the corridor was brief but intense. Zephyrian. Soldiers, all firing in the same direction, all using the same tactics. Against normal humans, it would have been overwhelming. Against enhanced soldiers who could move faster than thought and coordinate through neural links. It was almost unfair. Guan's team flowed through the combat like water, each soldier covering the others, their enhanced abilities working in perfect harmony. They were outnumbered 10-1, but they were faster, stronger, and most importantly, unpredictable. Core room now. Giwan ordered as the last Zephyrion fell. Yeji connected her neural interface to the alien computer system. Her enhanced mind raced through their security protocols, finding the weak points that individual creativity could exploit. The virus upload began immediately. 60 seconds, she announced. But they're sending more guards. The ship's alarms were screaming now, and Jiwan could hear hundreds of footsteps rushing toward their position. The Zephyrians might be predictable, but there were a lot of them. Upload complete, Yeji said. Let's go home. The extraction was a running battle through the ship's corridors, but their enhanced speed and coordination gave them the advantage they needed. As they reached their entry point, Giwan looked back at the chaos they were leaving behind. The virus was already spreading through the ship's systems, and from there it would spread to every Zephyrian vessel in the fleet. Their perfect coordination was about to become their greatest weakness. But 3 of his soldiers wouldn't be going home, as the price of victory was always paid in blood. 6 months had passed since the Mars mission, and Captain Yoon Juwon stood in the war room aboard the battleship New Seoul, staring at reports that made no sense. The virus had worked exactly as planned. The Zephyrian fleet coordination had collapsed, their ships scattered and confused. Human forces had won battle after battle, pushing the aliens back from Earth's colonies. But now something was wrong. They're not fighting like before, said Admiral Lee Minho through the holographic display. His face looked tired but hopeful. At first, when the virus hit their systems, they were helpless. Ships crashing into each other, soldiers wandering around lost. We thought we had one. Giwan nodded. He remembered those early victories, Zephyrian ships that couldn't coordinate their attacks. Enemy soldiers who seemed confused and afraid without their hive mind telling them what to do. It had been almost too easy. But now? Jiwan asked, though he already knew the answer from the tactical reports. Now they're fighting like us, said Lieutenant Colonel Park Sumi, pulling up battle footage on the main screen. Look at this engagement near Jupiter's moons. The Zephyrian commander used asteroid cover, feint attacks, even retreated when the situation looked bad. That's not hive mind. Behavior. Guan watched the footage with growing concern. His enhanced brain processed the tactical information faster than any normal human could, and what he saw worried him. The Zephyrian ships moved independently, each captain making their own decisions. They were creative, unpredictable, using strategies that the hive mind had never attempted. They're learning, he said quietly. Learning what? Saw Sergeant Oh Seo-jin. She was standing next to him, her cybernetic arm showing stress fractures from recent battles. All of his remaining team members were showing wear and tear. The enhancements that made them superhuman were slowly breaking down their bodies. Learning to think as individuals, Giwan explained. The virus didn't just break their hive-mind connection, it forced them to become independent thinkers. And they're good at it. Dr. Cho Hai-jin appeared on another holographic display, calling from her research station. Captain, I've been studying captured Zephyrian soldiers. The ones we caught after the virus spread. They're different now. Different how? Giwan asked. They have personalities, individual thoughts, fears, hopes, even dreams. Before the virus, they were like parts of a machine. They're like people. Alien people, but still people. Guan felt a chill that had nothing to do with his cybernetic implants. The enemy was evolving, becoming more human-like. But they still had superior technology, superior numbers, and now they had the tactical flexibility that had once been humanity's greatest advantage. There's more, Dr. Cho continued. The medical reports on your team, I need to tell you something important. Juan looked around the war room, then gestured for his remaining soldiers to follow him to a private briefing room. Only 9 of them were left now. The others had been lost in various missions over the past months, their enhanced bodies finally pushed beyond their limits. The genetic modifications are breaking down, Dr. Cho said once they were alone. Your cybernetic implants are burning out faster than we expected. The neural connections are becoming unstable. Private Han Yeji touched the side of her head where her interface implant was located. I've been having trouble connecting to computer systems. Sometimes the link just cuts out. How long do we have? Asked Sergeant Kong Yunji. Weeks maybe. A month or 2 at most. Enhancements were never designed to be permanent. Your bodies are rejecting them. Kuan processed this information with the analytical part of his enhanced mind, while the human part of him felt a deep sadness. They had become monsters to fight monsters, and now they were slowly dying because of it. Sir, said Corporal Bei Minsu, there's something else. Intelligence reports suggest the Zephyrians are building something on their homeworld. Some kind of new command center that combines both hive-mind coordination and individual thinking. A hybrid system, Juan realized. The best of both approaches. If they perfect it, they'll be unstoppable. The tactical situation was becoming clear. Zephyrians were adapting faster than anyone had expected. Individual aliens were learning to think creatively while still maintaining some connection to their collective consciousness. They were becoming everything that humans were, but with better technology and resources. We need to hit their homeworld, Jiwan announced. Stop them before they complete their new system. Admiral Lee Min-ho shook his head when they presented the plan. The homeworld is defended by everything they have left. Plasma batteries that could destroy entire fleets. It's a fortress system. Then we don't bring a fleet, Jaewon replied. Go in quiet like we did at Mars. General Kim Tae-yoon looked at the enhanced soldiers with obvious concern. You're in no condition for another mission like that. The medical reports don't matter, Jiwon interrupted. This is what we were made for. We became something less than human so that humanity could survive. If we don't stop them now, everything we sacrificed will be meaningless. As they prepared for what everyone knew would be their final mission, Juan thought about the irony of their situation. The war had changed everyone involved. Zephyrians were learning to be individuals, while the enhanced humans were slowly losing their humanity. To the very modifications that made them effective soldiers, both sides were becoming something they had never intended to be. The question was which side would survive the transformation. The transport ship. Ghost Protocol was being prepared for the journey to the Zephyrian homeworld. Juan looked at his remaining team members and wondered how many of them would come back. Their enhanced bodies were failing, but their human spirits remained strong. They would save humanity one last time, even if it killed them. The Zephyrian homeworld filled the viewport of the Ghost Protocol like a living jewel. Captain Yoon Gi-wan had never seen anything so beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The planet's surface was covered with crystal cities that glowed with soft light, connected by streams of energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. Master Node is 3 kilometers underground, reported Private Han Yaji, though her voice was weaker than before. Her cybernetic implants flickered as she tried to process the scanning data. It controls everything, their old hive mind system, and the new individual consciousness network. Guan looked at his remaining team. Only 7 enhanced soldiers were left, and all of them were dying. His own genetic modifications felt like fire in his blood, burning through his system. Sergeant. Oh, Seojin's cybernetic arms sparked occasionally. Corporal Beiminsu's enhanced vision kept cutting in and out. They had weeks to live, maybe days, but they only needed hours. Remember, Giwan said as they prepared to leave the ship, this isn't just about winning the war anymore. These aren't mindless drones we're fighting. They're people now, just like us. The descent through the planet's crust was like falling through a nightmare. They used their failing enhanced strength to climb down ancient tunnels, following paths that led toward the planet's core. The walls around them pulsed with alien energy, and they could hear sounds that might have been voices or might have been machines. Contact ahead, whispered Sergeant Kong Yunji, her enhanced hearing picking up movement. But these weren't the predictable patrols they had faced before. Individual Zephyrian guards were positioned at random locations, each one thinking. For themselves, watching for threats, the first battle was unlike anything they had experienced. The aliens fought with creativity and fear, using tactics they had learned from studying human combat footage. They took cover, called for help, even tried to negotiate. Please, one wounded Zephyrian said in broken human language as Juan's team moved past. We have children, families. We don't want to fight anymore. Giwan felt something break inside his chest. These weren't the emotionless enemies they had been fighting for years. The virus had changed them, made them individuals, with hopes and fears and families to protect. Keep moving, he ordered. But his voice was quiet. The underground complex was a maze of crystal corridors and glowing chambers. At every turn, they met Zephyrians who fought not because a hive mind told them to, but because they were afraid. And desperate, some tried to run. Others begged for mercy. A few fought with the courage of people defending their homes. This is wrong, said Private Song Jae-in as they reached the final chamber. His neural implants were barely working, but his human conscience was working fine. They're not monsters anymore. They're just scared. The master node chamber was vast and beautiful. The node itself was a crystal structure the size of a building, pulsing with the combined thoughts of an entire species. Around it, individual Zephyrians worked at control stations, their movements showing the uncertainty of beings still learning to think for themselves. Upload the virus, Giwan ordered, but his heart wasn't in it anymore. Yaji connected her failing neural interface to the alien systems, but then she stopped. Captain, this will destroy everything. It's not just their military, their entire civilization. They're not warriors anymore. They're families, scientists, artists, children learning to dream their own dreams. Juan stared at the master node. The original plan had been simple. Destroy the enemy's ability to coordinate, win the war, go home. But the enemy had changed. They had become something worth saving. Around them, Zephyrian technicians looked up from their workstations. They could have attacked, could have tried to stop the human soldiers. Instead, they just watched with large, frightened eyes. One of them, smaller than the others, stepped forward. Please don't hurt us, it said in careful human words. We just learned how to be ourselves. We have so much we want to do, so much we want to see. Sir, said Corporal Beiminzu, his enhanced tactical systems barely functioning. We're soldiers. We follow orders. But we're also human. What we do here will define what that means. The choice hung in the air like the hum of the master node. End the war by destroying a species that was just learning to live, or find another way. Guan made his decision. Yeji, modify the virus? Don't destroy their consciousness, just their weapons systems. Shut down their military technology, but leave their people alone. The upload took precious minutes while Zephyrian reinforcements arrived. But these reinforcements didn't attack immediately. They stood in the doorway, weapons lowered. Watching the humans who had come to destroy them, but were choosing mercy instead. When the virus finished its work, every weapon on the Zephyrian homeworld simply stopped working. Across their entire civilization, plasma batteries went dark, warships lost power. The machinery of war became silent. In the sudden quiet, the young Zephyrian who had spoken before stepped closer. "Why?" it asked. "Why spare us?" "Because," Jawan said, feeling his enhancements finally failing completely, "that's what it means to be human." The journey back to the surface was a struggle of failing cybernetics and exhausted bodies. It's only 4. Enhanced soldiers made it back to the Ghost Protocol: Giwan, Yunji, Minsu, and Jaeon. The others had given everything to ensure the mission's success. Months later, as Earth and the individual Zephyrian worlds began peace talks, Captain Yunjuan sat in a hospital bed, his body finally free of the enhancements that had made him superhuman. He was dying, but he was human again. Outside his window, children played in a garden under a blue sky unmarked by war. Earth was safe, and somewhere among the stars, young Zephyrians were learning to dream their own dreams. They had won by choosing to remain human, even when victory seemed to require giving up their humanity was enough.